Get close. Double. Loaded. Both dead.
Second.
Double dead. Double dead. Double dead. Double dead.
Using mouse and keyboard on console-based games is widely perceived as cheating, or any sort of a cheating device that allows you to bypass the Xbox hardware or PlayStation hardware and use a mouse and keyboard rather than a controller. However, in recent times, in Rust Console Edition specifically, there's been so many players that actually use this device that really don't get banned. People are starting to wonder and speak up about, should there be mouse and keyboard compatibility with Rust Console, or should there be any types of servers just for mouse and keyboard users? Today's video is going to be deep diving into whether or not mouse and keyboard is number one, cheating by Rust Console Edition's definition, and should mouse and keyboard come to Rust Console Edition? And obviously that answer depends on the first question at hand. So cheating on Rust Console is something that is very much happening within the community. A lot of players do it, and it just is what it is at this moment in time. There's been bans here and there with a lot of TikTokers or people that like to quote unquote flex their device, but at this moment in time there's not enough to do with banning cheaters, and it's only getting worse. As much as you want to say there's a 1% of the community that use cheating devices, there's a lot of people on TikTok, there's a lot of people on YouTube that use these devices, and a lot of casual players that don't even do content, that just like to have the edge and advantage over the general controller player. And these devices are Zim Apex, Zim Matrix, or Leadjoy. You have a couple there to go by, but the main ones are Zim Apex and Zim Matrix. And I'm not going to really go into what they do. I mean, Zim Matrix just briefly allows you to create your own scripts, whereas Zim Apex just allows you to play mouse and keyboard on console games. But is using a Zim Apex or mouse and keyboard on Rust Console Edition cheating? Using devices like the Zim Apex or similar adapters to use a mouse and keyboard on Rust Console is considered cheating by many players and developers, keyword there. While it might not be technically hacking or exploiting game code, it does create an unfair advantage in several ways, and here's why. There's an unfair advantage with it being number one. Number two, game and platform policies. This depends on the developers. Number three being the community's perception, whilst this doesn't really matter because, you know, you could be allowed to cheat in the game, but a lot of people don't like it. It doesn't matter. If you're able to cheat, or it wouldn't be cheating at that point, but if you're able to use mouse and keyboard on a game and the developers say that's fine, it doesn't matter what the community thinks. If you can play, you can play. Is it enforced? Well, detection for consoles and some games have limited abilities to detect devices like Zim, making enforcement inconsistent. However, detection methods are improving, and players have been banned in other games like Rainbow Six and Overwatch for using similar devices. And the consequences are, if caught, you risk being reported by other players and developers, which may cause penalties, including bans, dependent on their policies. Now, the grey area with using mouse and keyboard on console-based games. Some argue that using Zim Apex is not cheating since it doesn't modify game files or directly hacks the system. However, because it provides an advantage that most players don't have access to, and it is against the intended spirit of the game, it falls into the grey area but is widely considered or regarded as unfair. And the final verdict being, using Zim Apex or similar devices on Rust Console is generally seen as cheating, even if it isn't always enforceable. It's best to respect and intended the design of the game and stick to controllers, especially in a competitive and multiplayer scenarios. Now, one thing I want to make clear is that pretty much most people that I'm aware of within Double 11 consider Zim being a cheating device. And again, you're able to play mouse and keyboard on some games, but if you need to buy a piece of hardware such as a Zim to bypass being able to play mouse and keyboard and look as if to the system that you're playing controller, whereas you're playing on a mouse and keyboard, I can't see how that is legit in any sort of way. And while cheaters don't really care about that because they gain the advantage, they have a lot more better chances of winning fights, and it's a lot easier to play mouse and keyboard than on a controller. So now we've established that Zim is cheating, how many people on Rust Console use this device? And we don't have clear-cut data with this or numbers. This could just be speculation, so take everything what I'm about to say with a grain of salt. Yes, the use of devices like the Zim Apex and Zim Matrix on games like Rust Console is not uncommon, particularly among players looking to gain an advantage. These devices allow players to use mouse and keyboard setups on consoles, offering more precise aiming and movement compared to traditional controllers. Some also use them to configure advanced macros or scripts that can automate certain in-game actions. However, this practice is often frowned upon within the gaming communities because it creates an uneven playing field, especially in competitive environments. Many developers and platforms holders like Sony and Microsoft actively try to detect and prevent the use of such devices. While Rust Console does not yet have a robust measures specifically targeting these adapters, their use is generally against the spirit of fair play and could potentially lead to account bans if detected. So let's not beat around the bush here. A lot of people use this device to play on Rust Console, whether they want to play using a mouse and keyboard because they just generally like using it, or they want to gain the edge on other players who may be using a Zen, or they're just legit controllers. But what are the pros and cons with using mouse and keyboard? So if we're going to have a fair debate here, let's look at the pros and cons if mouse and keyboard should be compatible with Rust Console. For pros, we have enhanced precision. Mouse aiming provides a far greater accuracy and control compared to thumbsticks, especially in shooting situations, and is ideal for long-range engagements or precise headshots. Number 2, faster reaction times. The ability to turn quickly and aim accurately gives players a significant edge in combat, and this could be down to the very millisecond of how much an advantage a Zim or mouse and keyboard player has over a controller player. It also has faster inventory navigation using a mouse, can streamline looting and crafting. More customization. Devices like Zim allow players to customize sensitivity, dead zones, and macros to suit their playstyle. Keyboard hotkeys make it easier to access items, switch weapons, or perform tasks without fumbling through the radial menus. Number 4. Consistency across platforms. If you're already used to mouse and keyboard from playing it on PC, it eliminates the learning curve of adapting to a controller. Number 5, improved building. Building structures is often faster and more intuitive with a mouse due to precise cursor placement. Now the cons for using mouse and keyboard on console. Hardware investment requires additional hardware like a Zim, which can be expensive, up to £100 or more. Number 2, risk of detection and penalties. Using devices like Zim is often against the game's terms of service. If detected, your account could face penalties, including bans. Number 3, limited optimization. Console games are primarily designed for controllers, so some aspects like aim and assist may not work correctly or feel unnatural when using a mouse and keyboard. And number 4, steep learning curve for beginners. If you're not already proficient with a mouse and keyboard, the adjustment period can be frustrating and may hurt your performance initially. Now I will say though, I know a lot of players that didn't use mouse and keyboard before jumping on Zim on Rust Console, and within a week or two they were demons. So that point there, see how you want to see fit. It depends on the player themselves. Number 5, potential negative feedback. Other players may accuse you of cheating or unfair play, leading to toxicity in multiplayer interactions. Number 6, console specific limitations. Some menus, radial dials or quick select wheels may feel awkward to navigate with a keyboard as they're designed for controllers, and depending on the device you may experience input lag or compatibility issues. So let's say they were compatible with Rust Console. Is it worth it? Using a mouse and keyboard on Rust Console is most beneficial for highly competitive players who prioritize performance. However, for casual or social gaming, the extra investment and risk might not be worth it, especially given the controversy surrounding the use of these devices. Now what we know is a lot of players use Zim or Zim Apex, Zim Matrix, whatever you want to call it, or Lead Joys. They use them within the game, specifically the competitive side, and that's always been the case within Rust Console. And the competitive side, because of the nature of Rust and the survival aspect of things, that's such a prominent community within the Rust community as a whole. It's unfortunate, but also it's going to happen that cheating is going to be at the forefront of things people do. So we know a lot of people use them, but we also know that Double 11 does not have a working anti-cheat for these. The most recent ban wave was just due to TikTok and people that were just outing other people out with evidence as well. So there's not a fully fledged working anti-cheat for picking up mouse and keyboard users or Zen users. We've also spoken about how easy it is to use Zim Apex. there's enough players within this community that will tell you that using mouse and keyboard isn't as hard as maybe people will try and make it out to be. People that may use it might downplay it so they can just, you know, stay under the radar of things. But let's not bullshit and beat around the bush. Using a mouse and keyboard has more pros than it does have cons, and using it for competitive play on Rust console is definitely something, you know, it's used for. And this is why people are crying out for mouse and keyboard compatibility. If we're not getting enough bans for the device, only more people are going to use them, and the more it may as well be compatible with the game. Do I agree that mouse and keyboard should be? No, just go to PC. But if there's not enough banning for Zim or mouse and keyboard devices, or the use of the hardware of mouse and keyboard, then I don't see what leg controller players have to stand on anymore when it comes to if Zim is cheating or not, or if mouse and keyboard is cheating or not. What do you guys think? Do you think mouse and keyboard should be compatible with Rust console? Should D11 allow it, or have some specific servers for it? At the end of the day, it's only getting worse, especially after Christmas. So Double 11 have to sort of bring out something that goes against this, such as an anti-cheat, but only time will tell on that front. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy today's video, be sure to leave a comment down below on your thoughts around this. I'll be interested to see what you guys think. See you in the next one, and as always, take it easy.